We understand what happened with Reyter is that his cup of coffee, in a particular cup that he used every day, had been laced with cyanide. We're joined now by Dr. David Klatzow, a consulting forensic scientist. Dr. Klatzow, good afternoon to you. We all know cyanide is poisonous. What effect does it actually have on the body?
Stephen, hello.
Good afternoon. What impact does cyanide have on you?
Cyanide. Well, what cyanide does, it prevents your body from utilizing oxygen.
So I presume that means you can't breathe.
Well, you can breathe, but you can't use the oxygen.
How does it have that effect?
Well, the biochemistry of it is a little bit complex, but in fact what it does, it binds to an enzyme, which is at the bottom end of the chain. When you breathe oxygen, you oxidize glucose. And in order to have the energy to keep going, that energy has got to be converted into a compound in the body called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And that is the sort of universal energy currency in the body itself. Now, in order to make that, the oxidation products of oxygen have got to be able to be combined with oxygen at the end of a thing called the respiratory chain. And what cyanide does, it blocks the end of that respiratory chain. So it basically puts a stopper in the pipe, as it were. You can breathe, but you can't use the oxygen. And, of course, the cells die immediately.
So if you're poisoned, I mean, if you drink from a cup that's been laced with this stuff, what kind of medical help could save your life? I mean, is there anything that you can do? Clearly, in Reyter's case, medical treatment helped.
Yes, there are. There are cyanide kits around. And Reyter is exceptionally lucky in a couple of things. Firstly, there are a number of areas where he's really very lucky. The first thing is that I doubt that he had a large dose of cyanide. He may have, the cyanide that he might have, cyanide oxidizes with age. So if that was an old sample of cyanide that was added to his coffee, some of it may have been oxidized, because 50 milligrams of cyanide will kill a 100-kilogram man. 50 milligrams. Remember that a teaspoon of sugar is about 4 grams. And a milligram is 1,000th of a gram. So 50 milligrams, which means just a pinch of cyanide is enough to kill the average-sized man. Now, if you up the dose of that, it will kill you very quickly. And in fact, cyanide, potassium cyanide and sodium cyanide are the compounds of choice that are used in these suicide pills. You remember that all the spy stories have got you bite down on the pill and you die immediately before you can be interrogated. And the leaders of Nazi Germany had them, and many of them escaped the hangman by biting down on a cyanide capsule, as did Hitler's wife, by the way. Now, the sodium cyanide and potassium cyanide are exceptionally toxic, and cyanide is the hydrogen cyanide is the compound that is used to put people to death in the gas chamber. So it's a particularly lethal compound, and as I say, it prevents you from utilizing atmospheric oxygen. Okay. And it's as though somebody put a hand around your throat and choked it off, except that you will go on breathing for a few seconds.
So if you get it into... So what kind of medical treatment? You would need medical treatment very quickly, right? Like you would need it almost instantly.
Very much so. There are various things that you do. One of they're kits. And in the kit, there's usually a compound called, it's a first cousin of vitamin B12. That's one of the things that is utilized. The second is a thing called sodium thiosulfate, which was also the same compound that used to, if you're as old as I am and you used to develop your own films, it was known as hypo. Hypo is a drug of choice in order to counter cyanide. So there are definitely kits available to do it, and he's very lucky that either he bumped into a hospital where they had a kit, and number two, that they picked it up quickly, and number three, it may, as I said, I would guess that whatever dose he had was not a particularly heavy dose, because we had a fellow at Wits who committed suicide in the chemistry lab by taking a spatula full of sodium cyanide, and he was dead before anybody could do anything.
Determining that it was in fact cyanide. So in this case, as I understand it, Reyter only laid a charge at a police station after a medical test. And I think 2 medical tests came back, and they took some time, holiday period, etc. Would a blood test tell you conclusively, like, you know, a blood test for alcohol tells you conclusively whether you're over the limit? Would it tell you conclusively that this was the result of cyanide that would not naturally occur in your body?
Yes, I think that you could probably, I'm not sure what tests they did, but you can test for cyanide, and there would be residual amounts of cyanide left, probably either in the urine or in the bloodstream.
And then it's a small amount, so if it's such a small amount, you wouldn't taste it, right? Not in good coffee anyway.
No, you wouldn't taste in coffee. Look, cyanide does have a mild taste. It tastes of bitter almonds. But you probably, unless you were quite aware of things, you wouldn't pick that up. But generally, bitter almonds is the smell associated with cyanide.
And how easy is it to get, Dr. Klatzow? I mean, what I'm trying to get to, I don't want to ask you what's a good poison, right? It's not something that I should ask you. But is it possible to get hold of it?
Look, it is widely used in industry. It's widely used in the mining industry, unless they've got something better. The cyanide process may very well be still used for refining gold. It's used in textile manufacture. It's used in a whole range of places. So, and I never had any difficulty buying cyanide ever.
Dr. David,
nobody ever questioned my right to possess it.
Dr. David Klatzow, thank you. A consulting forensic scientist. Shows you how scary the situation is, shows you the impact of cyanide as well. Dr. Klatzow, thank you very much indeed.